Hello, weirdos out there in weirdo land. How is everybody doing? Am I coming in clear?
Yeah.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear. We got the whole team with us. We've got Beckett, we've got Vicky, we've got Birdney, and we've got producer Denny's. Let's get right into it, y'all. A lot of people talking about the UFO footage. You guys seen this story?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So this is a story we've been talking about for a while, and I'm going to play the footage right now as we're talking about it. This is footage where, and I'm just trying to pull up the footage as I'm talking to y'all, but this is the footage that they've come out to say it's legit, it's real, the military's backing it up. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
So you'll see that little dot right there is the UFO in question. And didn't we talk about this, Beckett, a few months ago, this specific footage?
Yeah, actually, and I got schooled a little bit because I posted it on my social media and people are like, oh, this is old. But I think what's new is that, as I understand it, the Department of Defense and the Pentagon are actually like officially getting behind the release and admitting to it. I guess that's what's different, because you're right, this video has been out there for a little bit.
Well, the thing that's just it, Denny. It's actually verified. I think it is about 2 years old now. Now the military, they're coming out, and the government's coming out and saying they're not sure exactly what it is. They're not giving too many details about that, but this is real footage, and that's pretty much what they wanted to get across.
Yeah, Jaybird, I actually listened to the interview of the head pilot. I guess there was a bunch of the F-22 Raptors that were scrambled for this, and the head pilot, that was the commander of how many planes they had in the air, was actually explaining that radar and what all the data points mean, and the person interviewing went through this guy's record as a Navy pilot, and it's impeccable. He doesn't have any history of being a conspiracy theorist. This is like his one thing. He's dead set on it. And what the interviewer said, it's unfortunate because, like you say about Bigfoot, how do you know things are real? Because there's plenty of crazy people doing all this stuff that muddies the water, and it gives a bad rap for these really credible stories. And this is really unique in that it's United States military, and it's multiple witnesses from multiple different kinds of radar. You got video. It's not doctored. The Department of Defense and the Pentagon are getting behind it. It's really kind of crazy.
Vicky, what are your thoughts? Is that Jaybird ghost closet type worthy footage right there?
Well, I was going to say, the people that ragged on me for my camera quality need to go ahead and look at this one. My question would be, why is it being released now? That's my big question. Why was it not released before? Are you trying to distract us from something? Why are you releasing it now? That's my question.
So was it leaked out before? Is that what happened? Because I've seen that footage at least for 8 months now. It's been out.
Yeah, but now officials are backing it. That's my question. Why are you all of a sudden backing something?
There's no way we're alone. I'm sorry. We're not alone, y'all.
Well, I don't know if this is a direct answer to Vicky's point, but what the captain said is there's in the United States, we have the Freedom of Information Act, and that usually is staggered in its release. And a lot of the original footage that the actual Navy has, that's not what's released. And the radar, they release like kind of secondhand, lower quality things. But I guess it's something to do with the Freedom of Information Act. And I think it's under intense pressure, as after this did get leaked, that the DOD and the Pentagon finally acquiesced and said, yeah, it's true.
Fascinating stuff, y'all. Aliens are visiting Earth. Pass it on to your mother. Okay.
All right.
Let's get into some other stuff. Vicky, we've got some ghost problems here at my place.
Okay.
And
I
do feel like this is something new, and I was talking a little bit on the KVJ show earlier this week or today. And basically what we've got going on here for the last 5 to 6 days, there is a lanky, long, slender looking, it looks like a dude that's walking down my stairs. And I will be petting Chewy and laying with Chewy, and I'll see something on the side. in my side profile, and then I'll look over and I kind of almost see the ending of this this figure kind of evaporate a little bit, kind of like disappear. Is this something that is a brand new spirit we're dealing with? Is this possibly an old spirit morphing into something different? You hear long, slender man walking downstairs. What do you think?
The first thing I think is a shadow person. 'Cause that's one of the forms that sometimes they will take, is a little tall, thin figure. It also reminds me of some things that Amy Allen has said on her show in regards to aliens, because there's a whole section of aliens that are also tall and thin. I would say that we've speculated that you have a vortex in your closet, and I would say this probably is something new, and it was attracted by what was already there, which was more of a negative entity, and now it's bringing in friends.
So my question with the whole Slender Man stuff and with my closet, is a portal and a vortex pretty much the same thing?
Yeah, the terms are interchangeable.
Okay. Now, is that portal kind of like a flashing light to other basically kind of like a Tinder page where they're like, oh, I'm going to swipe right and go in that closet. They're attracted to it.
Well, it's an opening. It would be the equivalent of if you're walking down a long hallway and all the doors are closed, but at the end there's an open door, you're probably going to go where the open door is. So it's an opening between this world and the next.
If the slender dude, or any ghost for that matter, they're walking whatever their path is, and they see this opening, my portal in my closet, are they also walking past other portals that they just aren't interested in? They're like, oh, there's a light. Not my thing. Let's go on to the next one. Kind of like you would at Key West looking for a bar or a club.
Yeah, well, there's some people that believe that they actually do go in and out every possible portal that they come across. It's just some they're more attracted to or stick around longer at those particular locations.
I get a lot of people, and when I say a lot, I would say 20 to 30% of people who think I'm lying about this completely. That's the complete opposite when it comes to you, Vicky. If this is Rotten Tomatoes, you come back with a very high mark of people who are very happy with their readings and what you tell them. With the research you've done, you feel confident as a psychic medium. There's no bullshit going on here, correct?
I don't feel there's any bullshit. Plus, we have video footage to prove that there's no bullshit. I mean, anybody that knows the setup that we had that night that we captured your entity in your room knows that we had cameras on every entrance to your place. If anybody else had come in there, we would have seen them. And if anybody messed with the equipment that night, we would have caught that as well.
Have my eyes deceived me? Do we have the Kevin Ralston in the Weird Whatever chat room?
We're being haunted.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Wow.
That's awesome. Hey, Kev.
Guest appearance.
How are you, my friend? Welcome. Welcome,
Doing
you
great.
weirdo.
I'm just here for the entertainment. I want to
yeah.
the story.
Well, we'll catch you up. We're talking about the Slender Man living in my closet. We had also just talked about that UFO footage, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, was to get kind of your take on the UFO footage that, we just played it over the Zoom.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. It was impressive stuff. What'd you guys say? What's everybody's take on that?
The one question that we had is, why is the Pentagon getting behind it now? After 2 years later, I think it's 2 years. It seemed like I think from 2017, 2018. Why are they now just saying, okay, yeah, this is credible?
Yeah, the only thing I can figure is that it sound like there's enough doctored video that's out there now, and they're seeing more of that stuff. And what I read was some people were saying that maybe it's a way also too for the Pentagon, because ultimately you got to look at their interest. Pentagon is not really interested in finding out about aliens and then letting the American public know about it. What they care about is they care about making warships that can bomb other countries and then not having people find out about it. So they're going to throw off smoke screens and do whatever they can to kind of like get people off the scent. So whatever motivation they had probably had more to do with that than it did really trying to lend into any kind of alien talk and letting us know more about what's happening or not happening.
Now, we don't have the witch in here distracting you, going, quack, quack, quack. Do you think right now, without the witch here, Have we been visited by aliens?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the footage is pretty crazy that you see, and what is the explanation? Because the thing that I find fascinating is it something that we could possibly re-engineer ourselves? Is that actually our own aircraft that we're seeing, or another country's aircraft? It just doesn't seem like we're even close to there yet with the maneuvers that they were showing, and so that's why I think that. I mean, what else explains not only the visuals that you had on that thing, but what it was able to do, because they can pretty accurately pull out the speeds and what this thing is flying and how it's maneuvering.
If you were single Kev, would you actually get down with an alien if it came down to it?
How hot is it? I mean, that's
I
always
mean,
the question.
Like
right?
it looks like ET.
How hot is it? I mean, if it's ET, no. I mean, that's pretty gnarly. I mean,
ET
where's he
with
been putting that finger too?
He's got a long finger.
Yeah, I don't know. I
ET
don't want that. Could you
ET
imagine
with
if? Could you imagine if ET were your proctologist?
I mean, but this would be a female ET with a banging body.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, if it's hot, yeah. I mean,
You're
I
gonna
think
do it.
ET with the wig on.
no, yeah, I've seen that. No, that's disturbing. That ain't happening.
To kind of circle back to the Slender Man stuff going on in my closet or on my stairwell, and with the ghost living in the portal, Vicky. What do we got to do to attract more ghosts if we wanted them? And what would we want to do if we wanted to not have any ghosts around? We're gonna go either way.
Well, first of all, if I told you what not to do, you're not going to follow directions.
Amen. Right?
That's not true, Vicky.
And I'm not going to give you any ideas on how to attract more.
Good.
So,
Okay.
I'm going to plead the fifth on this one.
It's good that somebody in
Okay.
here is sensible.
Someone's got to be, Kevin. Now, the one other question, Vicky, people ask: can shadow people? Can they actually harm human beings?
I missed your question because I think something happened with my internet for a second. What was the question again?
That was convenient. Shadow people. What I'm saying is, can shadow people actually physically harm human beings? Because they're a little bit different than a typical ghost.
There's been some accounts. As a matter of fact, it's a subject, and I sent you a text a couple Sundays ago to tell you that I was reading up on a shadow man book that I had, and I actually purchased another one to do more research. There are some accounts where people have had scratch marks and things like that in conjunction with having seen a shadow person. So, I can't tell you 100%, but there are accounts of that.
Hey Vicky, I got a question for you, because what I've heard some people talk about when it comes to spirits and where the real danger is that spirits wear you down. And we talk so much about mental health. And the question that I had heard was, somebody said, I wonder how much dark or demonic spirits are working on people's psyche, keeping them awake, trying to break them down and making them their own worst enemy. And how many suicides do we have in America that could be caused by entities like that? And maybe that's the most severe harm they can actually cause to a human, rather than them scratching them or hurting them.
Right. Well, if you're talking about a demonic specifically, that is their goal. Their goal is to wear you down. They don't want you to sleep. They want to manipulate you in any way they can. And they're going to feed off of whatever your issue is. I'm also currently working on a theory in conjunction with spirits and schizophrenia, that there is a direct correlation between people with schizophrenia and paranormal activity, and something using people who have been diagnosed with schizophrenia. I always used to say, which came first, the insanity or the haunt? Because I think sometimes you can have both going on, or one causing the other.
Do you think genetically people could be predispositioned to be haunted? Like, because they have traced, schizophrenia to genetics. So is it possible that those people are just more prone to being haunted, and then they're easy vessels for spirits or demons?
Well, if you have any kind of chemical issue going on, whether it's bipolar, schizophrenia, things like that, you have some of your defense mechanisms that we automatically have. You don't have those 100%. So that means you have that opening that some entity can use in order to communicate with you. So anybody who has any of those things has a higher possibility of having interaction with spirit.
The other question too, and I was reading something about how children at a young age that suffer or go through some kind of, big trauma at a young age, that can also lead to them and their, as they get older, possibly being able to see or communicate with spirits. Have you ever heard anything like that with trauma in childhood?
Yeah, I mean, and what's funny, let's go circle back to what we're talking about shadow people. There have been many reports that children who see shadow people will see that same shadow person as adults. And it's almost like the shadow person tags them in youth and then takes periodic checks in on them as they grow older. And that's part of the research that I'm doing right now, is to find the correlation.
As a child, I had two imaginary friends. One seemed like it was made up, kind of like, oh, here's my imaginary friend Bebo Y. It was this little like cartoon dog, but I knew that wasn't real. But there was this one imaginary friend man named Don. He was about 45 years old. I can still see him. He had slick back hair. He always wore a turtleneck, and he was always in the bathroom, and I would talk to him when I would poop. And he lived in the walls of the bathroom. But I remember seeing him, and I'm just wondering, was Don just in my head, or was Don a ghost that just liked to watch me poop?
And a great follow-up question, can spirits smell?
I have a fetish.
I mean, you hear kids with imaginary friends. Is it imaginary friends, or are they actually seeing a spirit or an entity?
I've always wondered. I had an imaginary friend. His name was Tabby Toey. So if I made him up, I was very creative when I made up his name. But his name was Tabby Toey, and he went everywhere with us, and I interacted with him. And I wasn't ashamed to interact with him when my siblings or other family members were around. I would tell them that he was there and he was watching them and this, that, and the other. So I've always considered the fact that he was actually a spirit, not an imaginary friend.
My little, go ahead, Beckett.
I was just gonna say, it's interesting to me because I wonder if it's a little bit like how surfers describe sharks. Even if you don't see them, they're always there. They just don't usually bother you. So I wonder if that's kind of how spirits are in the realm that we participate in. The other thing I find interesting is that, as we get older and become adults, we get our life and our imagination tends to stay within certain guardrails. Things tend to be more black and white. We tend to have less of an imagination. We aren't building forts in our living room anymore, thinking about different things. So I wonder, kind of like Vicky was saying, Jaybird has, some empathic ability. I wonder once you get older, you kind of lose that ability as you do as a kid to have a little bit more of an open mind and an imagination to maybe notice those metaphorical sharks in the water, the spirits.
But don't you have to grow up for that to happen, Beckett?
That's true. Fair.
Yeah, to answer Ryan's question, we tend to see that by the age of 7, children have stopped interacting with things that the rest of us can't see. Those children who continue to communicate past the age of 7 are those who have a gift that's stronger than the average person. So why 7 is the magic age, I can't give you an exact reason, but up until that point, you are constantly being drummed in your head. No, there's no monster under your bed. No, there's not anything in your closet. There's no this, that. And then your brain just ends up shutting off to that other side. But it's those people who see it past the age of 7. Those are the ones that are really supposed to use their gift.
Very good stuff. Kev, while I got you here, I want to kind of change topics. Do you know a lot about the hidden messages in the Last Supper? And Birdney, if you don't mind, if you could, please put that picture up if you could. Do you know anything about the hidden messages?
No, I don't think I've heard anything about the hidden message. Oh, yeah. I think, wait, are you talking about Leonardo da Vinci and you have the M, which is the matriarchal sign, and you got all the different symbols. Yeah, if you're talking, yeah, I have heard about this, and that there were supposed to be, this kind of goes into the Da Vinci Code, right?
Yeah, so there's other stuff too that I didn't know about. I guess there's rolls of bread on there that supposedly make up some type of...
Yeah, it's been years since I looked into this, but if you look at the positioning where you have Mary at the table there and you have Jesus, and you see it's supposed to create kind of like an M, and they say that stands for matriarchal, and that was supposed to be a sign from Leo da Vinci that Mary actually had a more powerful position. And that's always been kind of the argument. What was Mary's position with the disciples, and did she have an intimate relationship, and possibly was she even the vessel that, you know, carried a possible child with Jesus? That was some of the rumors that had happened.
Yeah, the thing I found fascinating was something with the rolls on the plate, that if someone did the research and kind of it makes some type of little piece of music on there. If you really do the research, something with the number of rolls and how they're positioned, if you decode it, there's a piece of music in that. I'd never heard of that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, somebody's broken down and they've tried to, you know, figure out and give it meaning to all the symbolism that happens in that. There's a lot of depth in that painting that you can see, and the positioning of everybody. In fact, you even see like the one where I believe it's supposedly Judas is turning away, and so, you know, that symbolizes something else. Like I said, it's been years since I looked it down. I don't have the whole breakdown of every little thing in there, but yeah, there's about maybe 12 different things that is supposed to, they believe Da Vinci was trying to say or allude to in this.
What would you guys want for your Last Supper? Could you even eat if you knew you were going to die the next day or that night? I don't know if I could get into it.
I would eat it anyways.
I mean, I'd be so depressed knowing this is going to be my last pizza. I don't think I could get into it.
My last grilled cheese.
I think I would do
drink.
I think I would do almost everything they would allow me to do, whatever that is.
Well, we know what you would do. Something sexual.
Just give me a cell phone.
Yeah, there's the other picture too. The Cafe Terrace at Night by Vincent van Gogh. They think that's his version of the Last Supper. There's 12 people there, like the 12 disciples. There's a guy with long hair that they think is Jesus. And if you kind of do the research on there, there's a lot of similarities to the actual Last Supper picture. Yeah, there's the picture right there.
One person turned away, Judas.
Yeah.
Weird.
There's a dude there with long hair.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, religious art and, you know, the topic of religion was, you know, big in a lot of artwork from basically the time of Christ until even today. So there is a lot of things that people would say. And sometimes even in paintings, you know, a lot of societies, you weren't allowed to say things and be open with what you wanted to say. So they would really, you know, now you can spout out anything you want on social media, but back then you couldn't go and talk the way you could today on Twitter. So they would actually try to put their meanings and communicate through artwork.
Yeah. Could you imagine if they had Twitter back then?
They would be killing a lot of people. Yes. There'd be a lot of people strung up. Yes. They'd be, if you were doing that, it'd be a very good job to be the executioner, because you'd stay very busy if they had Twitter back then. They just killed you.
Denny's, are you able to play the audio from your end or no?
You know, it wasn't working last I checked. Which
No
audio
worries.
are you referencing?
I wanted to go and play that Queen song. So supposedly Queen's got a hidden message in their music. And it's the message is smoke some marijuana. When you back mask their song, Another One Bites the Dust, you hear let's smoke some marijuana. I'm gonna go ahead and try to play it on my end. See if you guys can hear this song. Of course, I don't. Here we go. All right.
It's pretty low.
Oh, it's low.
I can hear it.
That's as loud as it's gonna get on my end.
That's cool.
Yeah, well, basically, I'll recreate it for you. Smoke marijuana, smoke marijuana. Yeah, there's a bunch of those hidden messages and songs and all that stuff. I know that Motorhead has got one. Are you a big Motorhead fan, Kev?
No, I know the song Ace of Spades. That's about it.
They're rough to listen to. I was listening to a little Motorhead before the
Yeah,
podcast.
they're a little too tough for me. Yeah.
They
I'm
are.
not man enough for Motorhead.
Big time.
But what do you think's the point of those messages? Those ones they put in intentionally to say something like smoke marijuana, you know?
Do you think they
Marketing,
did that on
right?
purpose?
I think when it first caught on, I think probably some of it was when they realized how to do it, and you know, I don't even know the reason, but yeah, it got to be a big thing. I know when I was a little kid growing up in church, they had somebody came in, there was a speaker, and he was playing all these songs backwards, and supposedly saying all these demonic messages. And then I went out right away and wanted to listen to every single song that they talked about. And so, I mean, if you look at that, things that were taboo, that was great marketing, and it still is. And so if any artist did it intentionally, I think a lot of it's unintentional, and it's like, really find something better to do with your time than playing songs backwards. I mean, now just put the message in it forward. I mean, don't make people work so hard. This subliminal messaging I thought was, ridiculous and asinine. But if any artist actually did do it intentionally, they probably did it because they realized that preachers were going around and talking to kids like me who are impressionable, who would think it was awesome. And I did.
Motorhead Nightmare, The Dream Time. I don't know that song. I guess it's called Nightmare, The Dream Time. This is what it says. But now tell me about your miserable lives. I do not subscribe to your superstitious, narrow-minded flights of paranoia. Yeah, that's deliberately put in there.
Absolutely.
That's not an accident. Well, someone want to say something? It's kind of hard to tell. There's a slight delay. So I apologize if I'm clipping anybody off. With that awkward transition, I think it might be time for some Denny's
random
facts. You got to work on that.
That was
the whole reason I'm here.
Okay, if you're playing along at home, Denny's gives some random facts. Vicky, our educator, grades each factoid. If it's a great factoid, she gives him an A. If it sucks, he gets an F. Denny's, bring it on.
All right, first fact for you guys today, and this is kind of just a weird thing that you wouldn't think you'd see at an airport, but from 1950 to about 1975-ish, vending machines were used in American airports to sell life insurance policies covering death in the event that you died on that flight. What do you think of that?
Did people
Vicky,
die a lot back then on planes?
No, but they used vending machines to sell life insurance policies in the event. That's what they were using those machines for.
I would make a
Till
case
eventually
that that's
cigarettes.
why it was genius, because people weren't dying a lot, but people were, since it was a new technology, were probably really scared of flying.
That's
so
the
they're
best
like,
thing about
yeah.
insurance.
So there you go. That's it. There's
But
insurance.
if you bought it at a vending machine and took it on the plane with you, is there going to be any proof that you bought any kind of insurance policy before you got on the plane?
Oh yeah, so you turn it in with your flight station before flight if you purchase it.
And that's binding, and that works, huh?
That's how it works.
Wow. Okay.
Weird, right?
Side note for everybody, Denny's used to sell insurance back in the day.
I did, weirdly, right? Homeowners insurance.
Weed insurance.
Vicky, you don't look that pumped.
No, I'm a little underwhelmed. That's a C.
Damn.
Sorry.
All right, I like it. This
Oh.
quarantine's got you hard, Vicky.
Hardened.
That sounded kind of dirty. I apologize.
Well,
All right, go
so
on.
another cryptic thing in the same type of era, the ambulance service in most towns were actually run by funeral homes. If you needed to be taken to the hospital, you'd have to call a funeral home, and they would have a hearse transport you to the hospital. Later, they invented ambulances that worked for the hospitals, but before that, from the 60s to 70s, was funeral home hearses. What do you guys think?
They drumming up their own business.
They are. It's kind of scary if you're getting delivered to the hospital in the thing you could potentially die in.
Well,
Yeah.
throughout the history of whenever that was going on, there was definitely some crossover where you were going to the hospital and there was also a dead body in there.
Guaranteed.
There's no way that didn't happen.
It's just funny, before we had these things implemented into our lives, before they just kind of shared the responsibility with the funeral business.
Quick survey, raise your hand if you've ever seen a dead body.
Oh, geez.
Okay, we're all at the point where we've seen one. But I didn't finish my question. That was not at a funeral.
Oh, yeah, I mean, both.
All right, avoid Denny's.
So I was at a stoplight, not to get too, graphic, but I was at a stoplight once, and a car ran the light and hit a motorcyclist.
Oh, that's
I don't want to
rough,
go into too
man.
many details, but it was insanely graphic.
No, please go on. Tell us about that depressing story with the motorcycle guy.
Furthermore,
Yee.
moving on to something less depressing.
Wah, wah, wah.
That one was an A, by the way.
Nice.
Thanks, Vicky. Thanks. Try to redeem myself here, especially in front of the big man. Let's see. This is just kind of a fun fact what I found, and Kevin may have heard of this, Jason as well. But in 2002, the band Creed put on such a bad show at the Allstate Arena in Illinois that they got a class action lawsuit filed against them from some of the concert goers for being the worst show they've ever seen.
Is this on YouTube?
Yes, it went to court and everything.
I want to watch this now.
Yeah, do we have audio of that by any chance?
Again, my computer, I still got to work out my kinks.
I think that's the one where Scott Stapp was blacked out drunk.
I think so.
I think he laid down on the stage and basically passed out and then didn't even perform. And people are like, what is going on? Yeah, I think that was the show.
Okay, now that makes more sense why it would happen. Thank you, Kevin, for adding those extra facts that Denny's left out on his random facts. So you get an A.
Oh
And
no!
he
Come
gets
on!
a C.
No, that was
Damn.
all Denny's. That was all Denny's.
Damn, Denny's gets lectured in front of the big guy. Damn.
This online schooling's tough, man.
So I don't know if you guys have ever, and I'm not trying to pick on Scott Stapp at all, because Lord knows there's plenty of video of me being drunk and looking like an idiot. But it's one of the cringiest videos I've ever seen. He's on this show,
The poker show.
a poker show, and Howard Stern's wife is on there, and he is bomb, and he's hitting on her, and he's talking about how he's this awesome rock star, and you can tell it was one of those moments where he woke up the next morning like this. What did I do? Because it was so cringy, and you can watch it on YouTube.
Yes, we'll share that actually on the Weird Whatever. That's so
Kevin's boy, though.
Jen also said in chat that you're bringing shame on your family.
Oh, my wife.
Oh, jeez.
My biggest troll.
Yeah, Kev,
My biggest girl.
So Jen, Denny's wife, Jen, stays in the chat room, and she just gives him shit the entire podcast.
Pretty
That's
much.
awesome. Yeah, I'm waiting for the Mexican queen to jump in here.
Tack on.
All right, Denny's, you got everyone's attention. Keep it going.
Well, so we all know as we age that our sight, diminishes at a certain point. But I didn't realize that the cells in the retina decline in age as well, meaning we also depict colors differently as we age. As you get older, blues become more washed out. Colors actually even morph to semi-different tones. So it's weird. You not only lose your sight, but you also lose your perception of color as you age.
Oh, so things get weird and awful as you get older? Thanks, Denny's.
More stuff to look forward to.
I mean, Vicky is shaking her head in shame.
I get
Being
it.
the oldest person here, I do not appreciate that random fact. And I'm sorry, I got to go with a D for that one.
Ah,
Denny's in front of the big guy.
I know it's rough. Let's see if we can turn this around. I actually pulled this fact for Beckett here.
You have one that's not so sad.
Yeah, this is a fun one for you guys. Beckett will appreciate it, being a veg. Benjamin Franklin became a vegetarian. He did it initially because he was trying to save money while he was working at the printing presses to buy more books. But he also decided the consumption of meat is unprovoked murder, and he felt a clear-headedness that he never felt before. There was only one time he deviated when he took a trip to Boston and ate some fried cod. But after that, he pretty much stayed vegetarian.
That cod rocked his bod.
That cod rocked his bod. He was on a long boat trip and was just like, you know what? Fuck it.
Smart dude.
I've heard that Ben Franklin was a puss hound. Like he was always porking back in the day. And the ladies loved him because back then, a portly guy kind of got the girls going a little bit back then.
Oh, yeah,
Becky, you actually would have done terrible back then. I would have done good.
Yeah.
And you had money. You were able to sell well.
He was
That's
a
true.
Renaissance man, too.
And if you were pale, because it meant that you weren't a worker in the field. So if you were pale and fat, you had good money.
God, things have changed.
And wasn't Ben Franklin, wasn't he an integral part with the whole America getting the independence from the Revolutionary War? Didn't he go over there, to England and
He was
really
in
kind
France. Yeah,
France.
he was-
France, yeah.
Yeah.
That-
Mhm.
Very
Yeah.
fascinating.
He's the one that
And-
got the French behind it.
Yep, that's right.
Oh, does Beckett want to get into a fact off with Kevin?
No, he's got good stuff. Go to Beckett. Yeah, he's right. Yeah, he's backing me up. I like it, man. He's
right.
Yeah.
He's the one that got France behind us. What a lot of people think when we were getting assaulted in New York City, there's no way that we would have been able to beat the British without the French getting involved.
Now you're just kind of showing off, Beckett.
Well, he was kind of our first diplomat, if you think about it.
Yeah.
As a kid, for whatever reason, I loved hearing about the Boston Tea Party. I just loved that whole, I thought that was so cool. And of course, the British are coming. The British are coming. I always loved those stories as a kid.
Yeah, it's such an American story, the Tea Party.
Dennis, give us a couple more. Give us two of your best ones. End on a medium note.
All right. So as always, let's see. So I thought this was cool. I didn't know if you guys have heard this term, a Boston marriage. Have you heard that term before?
Boston cream pie.
Well, so a Boston marriage.
That sounds dirty.
Beckett.
Come on, PG-13, Beckett. Let's see here. A
The
Boston.
guy who just dropped an F-bomb.
Yeah, I know. Under my breath, by the way. I did that because the big man's here. Let's
When did I ever regulate language
no.
on a show that's not my own?
So a Boston marriage was a New England term for a domestic partnership between two financially independent women throughout the 19th century into the early 20th century. There was a book in 1886, The Bostonians, where they basically proposed the concept of a long-term cohabiting relationship between two unmarried women. They called the term new women for the way that women were changing in history. Weird, right? So what women would do is they would cohabit instead of having a man in the house, because there's a lot of luxuries afforded to you if you were married, opposed to being a woman by yourself. So you could actually get kind of the same benefits using one of these type of domestic partnerships, I guess you could call it. Some are romantics, most were financial.
So there's the Denny's I love.
Yeah.
Okay, that one you really kind of went out there. That was a little bit different. That one's an A.
Look at that.
Keep
Yeah.
it up.
That's
Keep it up.
A material.
It's interesting too because it was Massachusetts that first passed same-sex marriage, so it's kind
Weird,
of
right?
ironic that
Yeah.
Boston.
And I kind of just talked about the Boston Tea Party. It all kind of
Full
all
circle.
kind of working together here. Denny's, I don't know if you're able to pull up that one cartoon about electricity back in the day where pretty much I love watching old propaganda videos and seeing old propaganda posters. Just, because we're talking about the 5G. We were talking about that in the KVJ show.
Yes.
People thinking 5G had something to do with the coronavirus. We're all going to die from the 5G. So there's all this panic from the 5G. But this has been the narrative since the beginning. Look at this. This is a real propaganda poster about electricity and how it's going to kill us all when people didn't really understand what electricity was. Isn't that crazy?
When the concept was first proposed, think about it. American homes didn't have electricity for a long time. So, I mean, that's a pretty new concept. And then clearly after that was internet, which was another crazy concept that came around. Now we got 5G internet, which people think are cooking our insides, causing birth defects and such.
Do you think, what's your opinion on 5G, Denny's? Is this some celebrities just going on Twitter and freaking out, or is there really something to this?
I mean, I think with any new technology, there's always a portion of people who are going to be skeptical of it. And I think there's always going to be a portion that is instantly into it and pushing the agenda. I mean, it's hard to say. A lot of times, though, the sad part about it all is everything's kind of like we're the beta testing for everything now. Like think about paint used to have lead in it. We used to have asbestos in our house. We used to use those things to, comforts, creature comforts. But they were bad for us, and we found out they were bad for us. So now we have non-toxic paint, non-lead. There's stuff that we just didn't know about until people started dying from it. So,
Well,
I mean,
the story that always blows my mind is that we actually put cocaine in Coca-Cola.
yeah.
I mean, could you imagine people
You
drinking
buy kids.
Coca-Cola? People like me drinking Coke before work and then going on the air.
Oh, geez. Yeah, you could buy tins of cocaine. It came with a straw and everything. Those were the golden days. I'm just kidding. But you could argue, though, things were much easier back then.
Kev, you have a tough time reeling me in without cocaine. Imagine me on Coke doing a morning show.
Oh, it'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
And I heard back in the day, 80s and 90s, a lot of morning shows happened to actually be on
Oh.
cocaine.
Oh,
and
yeah.
wrestling, it turns out.
Oh my gosh.
You got to
talk-
admit, your
Go ahead,
Mountain
go.
Dew, your Mountain Dew's got to be a close second to cocaine. I mean,
I don't
it's got
know.
to be the closest thing.
Everyone's always sending me literature about how Mountain Dew's gonna make my balls shrink, or I can't have kids, or what. I don't know. It just tastes so good, Beckett. I don't know what to tell you.
Tastes better than kids.
I'm gonna have to get me some.
Yeah. But
right.
it's just crazy to see what it's, we watched the one special, Reefer Madness, and we've talked a little bit about that. In fact, next week, Denny's, which probably play a few
Pull a
clips
clip.
from Reefer Madness, because they just were trying to scare everybody and their mother into never smoking weed because it was going. Now, do you think, Dennis, were they really thinking weed was going to harm people, or did they see some kind of financial gain by blocking all that off with the government?
I mean, it's hard to say because the government can make more money. I mean, distributing alcohol, they tax it. Cigarettes, they tax it. All that stuff, they make a ton of money on. So, I mean, it'd be in their best benefit. So I imagine back then they were trying to snuff it out because otherwise they would have gone for the financial gain. And then I think they realized the financial gain after, They re-released alcohol again after Prohibition. They saw how many people were running it too, man. You had the speakeasies. You could actually, Suits could attribute the birth of NASCAR to the bootlegging game, running liquor across lines. So, I mean, a lot of stuff came from it.
If all of a sudden they made alcohol illegal, Kev, would you still drink it?
If they made it illegal?
If all of a sudden we're back in Prohibition times, alcohol is illegal, you're not allowed to drink it, would you still drink it even though you can't because it's illegal, or would you still be able to do it?
I'd switch to weed.
Yeah.
That's okay. You get your green card or your red card.
Yeah, they made everything illegal. They were just like, all of it's done. And then they reintroduced alcohol because people were dying.
I think it'd be harder to get alcohol if they, both were illegal.
Yes. I'd be a shiner, man. I totally would. I would be making moonshine. I absolutely would do that.
Let's go ahead and we'll introduce Kevin to the one segment we like to do. What's your positive for the week? Now, it can't be the Mexican Queen or I got kids, Kev. It's got to be something specific to this week that's a little outside the box.
Okay.
Like, for example, what was yours last week, Denny's?
Oh, jeez, man. I can't remember. What do you put me on the spot for? In front of Kevin? Come on.
I did that on purpose. Yeah, so Vicky, what's your positive for the week?
I was on my way on Sunday to take my daughter to work, and we got to an intersection and it was raining. Over in the other corner in the turn lane, there had been an accident. And I have no clue how this truck ended up in the side of this car, but it deployed the airbag, and the two people that had been in the car were standing out in the rain. So as I look, a car came, made a U-turn, stopped in front of those two people in the rain, reached out and handed that woman their jacket so that she didn't have to stand in the rain. And my daughter and I saw at the same time, we both at the same time say, "Oh my gosh," and we just started crying because it was like just so kind and so random that a stranger would just reach out and hand somebody their jacket so they didn't get wet.
Do you find that the whole pandemic makes you a little bit more emotional on things you normally wouldn't be?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people talking on social media that they're crying a little bit more than they normally have on stuff. They're like, I don't know why I'm crying when I'm watching this commercial. I think it's this damn pandemic. All right, that's a great one. I love it. Denny's, what's yours?
So earlier this week we had a really random like hurricane / tornado go through our neighborhood for some crazy reason, and it hailed, it tore up everything, and it knocked out our power for 6+ hours. And during that time, I kind of was just sitting there thinking about, first off, I noticed how quiet the house is when there's no electricity. You forget about it. We haven't had a bad hurricane in a while, but when the refrigerator's off, the air's off, it's so quiet. And then you think about, during a pandemic, a time of this where everybody's in quarantine, and we have our luxuries. We have phones, we have internet, we have television shows, we got binging anything. It's crazy. When you're stripped of all of those, you have just company and books. That's it. It's the only two things you can do. And I sat there for 6 hours just chatting and reading, and it just really gave me an appreciation for just how, if things are stripped down to the simplest, you can still get by. Like, all this stuff's great, but you can get by without it. It's crazy.
I love it. Birdney, what's your positive for the week?
My positive of the week is I broke down and ordered something on Amazon that I had been wanting, which was
What are we talking about?
we're talking about I'm gonna see if I can show it quick. I'm not sure if you can see. I got what Denny's and Jen have, which is that electric fireplace, but mine
It's
is
so
a
cozy.
different model.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's pretty, like, because I'm in quarantine, I thought I might as well just enjoy my home a little bit more. So I broke down, bought it. So it's making me happy every day I look at it. So it's a little.
Hey, man, you got to make your place, no matter how big or small it is, you got to make it cozy. Because if you don't, I find that also breeds some anxiety and some negative thoughts. If your shit's not cozy the way you like it, you got to do those little things. I love it. That's a good one. Beckett.
I'm going to copycat Denny's a little bit and say that I appreciate the new perspectives that this pandemic has caused. What I mean by that, I think we've joked about it, laughed about it. When you go to bed at night and you're watching the TV and you have it on a certain volume and you're like, oh man, I can barely hear this movie. You turn the TV off, you wake up in the morning, you turn on the TV and it's so loud. You can't believe how loud you were listening to it. You almost have to turn it to the bottom of the volume of the TV just to have it a normal volume. And I think what happens is we get sensory overload on a lot of things, including our brain, our hearing, all of our senses. So with all of this going on, I've meditating has been one of the hardest things I've ever tried to do. So I've had a little success with that. And to Denny's point, similarly, I have like a different perspective and appreciation in silence, kind of stepping out of the tornado of life and actually kind of focusing on what's important. So I'm appreciative of all that.
I love it. Now, before we get to the Kevin Ralston's positive of the week, I want to talk with the chat room and say, let us know in the chat room. Let us know what your positive of the week is. We love hearing from y'all. Also, let us know what you're having for dinner. I'm oddly always so curious in the comment section. Let us know what you're eating and what is your positive of the week. We love that. Mr. Ralston, what do you got for us?
Well, my positive was it was kind of a scary thing. I looked in my freezer the other day and I was out of vodka and I really needed some, but I was really scared about, going to the store and getting some and just hanging out back of my house. And just out of nowhere, this really kind homeless guy comes up with 2 jugs of vodka and hands it to my 11-year-old son, which, seems completely natural. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just thought it was almost like an angel or something like that. And I talked to my son. I said, well, thank you, son, for the vodka. That's very sweet of you. I said, who is that homeless man? And he said, that was Jaybird. And I said, no way. I'm like, my goodness, what a blessing that was. So my positive was Jaybird replenished my vodka supply and I didn't have to go out and risk the coronavirus. I mean, that's a major win in many fronts.
Okay, first of all, I gave it to your wife, not your kid. Your wife.
The first response was
the queen thought I was homeless.
The first response was, oh no, we got a homeless guy trying to get into the backyard. And I was like, uh-oh, all right, get ready. I thought it was about to go down. Yeah, I don't know what was happening.
I looked in the mirror when I got into my truck and I go, Bird, you look rough. I was looking rough, but I gave it to the queen, though, not your kid.
Well, either way, that's just the story I got back. It was very sweet, though. Either way,
I love it.
Positive. It made my week, so thank you.
How you doing on that vodka? You running low?
I'm getting low. I'm gonna have to. I need to call the what is it? The Tito's ferry. Yeah.
I'll talk to the homeless guy, see what I can do for you. And my positive of the week, I got to have a good long conversation with my oldest sister out in Oregon. We FaceTime. I always forget the power of FaceTime. FaceTime's awesome. I didn't even realize I was talking to her for almost 2 hours, but it just, like y'all are saying, it forces you to have longer conversations with your loved ones or, shut life down a little bit as far as the noise and all that. And I think that's a great thing. And I was able to have a great heart-to-heart with my sister. So that's my positive of the week. Again, let us know in the chat room what your positive of the week is. And on that vein, we got an email from a guy named Paul. It says, Dear Win Whenever, I want to give a shout out to my neighbor. I got laid off 2 weeks ago. I never told my neighbor this, but somehow he found out I was struggling by losing my job. Again, he never knew this. Last night, I noticed $1,000 sent to my Venmo account. It was from my neighbor. He did this out of the blue. Just so you know, my neighbor and I recently got into a feud and started not liking each other whatsoever. In fact, I called the cops on him before because his music was too loud. I feel stupid now calling the cops because he seems like a kind-hearted individual. If me and this guy can start getting along, why can't other people? Just want to give a shout out to my neighbor, Paul Henderson from the Acres. That's a pretty cool story right there.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I will say, kind of a dicky move, Paul, calling the cops on him. You couldn't just gone over there and talked to him first.
Totally.
He's learning, people can heal. I think you need to take that email and show that to Virginia, and maybe there could be a future with her and Rob Schneider.
Oh, we're never going to
never.
get.
Oh,
We'll
geez.
never be able to. Only way we're interviewing Rob Schneider, it's during Mardi Gras when Virginia's not in the studio. That's the only
Yeah.
time we can do Rob Schneider.
You don't think we can get a Christmas miracle one of these years?
Well, I think he's on to us. I think he knows we're the show that, I don't
Yeah.
know, got into a fight with him.
You gotta have hope.
Birdie, how are we doing on time? I know Vicky's got to get the heck out of here.
We've got 8 minutes.
Yeah, we're doing well.
We're doing good.
Yeah.
All right, very good. The other thing I did want to talk to you guys about, we were talking about in the KVJ show. We want to do a viewing party with everybody. We did the KVJ horror movies, and we would love for the Weird Whatever, the KVJ audience, all of us to kind of watch that together. That'd be a fun activity, I think. And you can also see Mr. Ryan Beckett do some great acting.
That's good just to lay on the ground. That's to the extent of basically what I had to do.
I think everybody on this chat has been in that in one of the 3 films.
Vicky with her awesome acting. In fact, Vicky,
Yeah, 2 times.
Two
I was like, I
times.
feel like in the
That's
opening credits of the first one that I
That's
did.
right.
Vicky, spoiler alert. The other program I wanted to watch, I know, Kev, you know a little bit about this. I was watching back where it was that documentary where there was that hidden tunnel where during the Nazis were stationed at, and Jewish people were trying to get out of there. They dug a tunnel to escape. We were talking a little bit about that. Do you know anything more about that whole story?
Well, it's just the underground movements that happened, what people were doing to try to, the Diary of Anne Frank and things like that is, stories about hidden rooms and just trying to get, Jews out of there, and Jews themselves trying not to look Jewish to try to be able to get out and escape, pretty much knowing that if you got on that train that you weren't coming back. And so, yeah, there's just amazing, harrowing stories that they have about that. In fact, they actually have a museum that is in Israel that you can go see, and it's all about the Holocaust Museum that they have there, and the stories there are just unbelievable. Which could you even imagine trying to live in that era if you were Jewish and in that part of the world?
Well, what was crazy about this documentary, they're pretty much investigating the truth of it, how long it was, did people actually really escape there? Because the problem with this tunnel they've built over it. There's a whole new structure there, which makes it very, very difficult, but very fascinating stories from that time period of people digging tunnels and how to get out of that situation. It's insane.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I believe that's on Netflix. A lot of good documentaries on Netflix.
Yeah, what's the name of that? I don't think I've seen that one.
I am trying to. I had it, and of course, my screen's not good. I'll talk about it maybe what's on my mind tomorrow on KVJ. See what
Okay.
I'm doing.
Yeah.
Getting people to tune back to the KVJ show.
Tell me, look, who's not learning about radio, huh?
Well, this is much easier than the board, just talking into a laptop. So how did that work for you with that Zoom? You just clicked the button, you came right in, Kev. It was easy for you?
Yeah. I'm Zoom proficient now.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. Yeah, I love it. It's amazing. I couldn't believe the numbers on Zoom going from 10 million to 200 million during the pandemic. That's impressive.
Totally.
Birdie, do you have any science facts for us? Any cutting edge scientific knowledge you want to throw down on the crew?
No pressure.
Just on the fly.
Well, it's in front of the big guy.
Right.
Don't think about the stakes. Don't blow it.
Some science facts. Let's see.
I'm just kidding. Don't worry about it. I'm not trying to put everybody on the spot there. But yeah, we're gonna go and wrap it up. Vicky's got to go, unfortunately. Where are you off to today, Vicky?
I have to go pick somebody up. So
Interesting.
got a little
Is
hookup.
Is it someone living?
Ooh.
Oh, good
Yes.
question.
Okay.
But I do want to say before I go, I want to thank everybody that has sent me emails and who have already set up readings. I am booked for the rest of this week and all of next week. I'm suspending all fees. It's strictly a love donation or it's free, whatever. Just send me an email at contact@pointparanormal.com, and I look forward to speaking to everyone who wants to.
Love it. Anybody got anything to plug? If not, we're going to be out this bitch. I got to walk my dog.
Yeah, can I plug the KVJ show? Listen
Yeah.
tomorrow.
So what time are we on? I forget. I forget these days. We're on like 11 hours
So
now.
it starts at 6 and it ends somewhere around noon.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, thank you for being our special guest today. It's
I
a
loved
treat
it.
and an honor, my
Yeah.
friend.
I love
Thanks,
it. Thanks for
Kevin.
having me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
good seeing you
Well, guys, we love you all, and Bigfoot
Bigfoot
is
is
real.
real.